Hello and welcome back to another episode here on Minecraft 101. In this episode we're going to look at a couple of farms that you can use to get a good supply of resources, specifically looking at iron and gold. So to get started with today, I've done quite a bit of work off camera. You may notice that there's a giant box up on top of that, and of course the sun is setting. There's a giant box up on top of the mountain. That is where I foolishly decided to build my iron farm. I'm going to talk about why it was a dumb decision to put it there. In general, it's usually a good idea to just put the iron farm floating out in space and then encapsulate it afterwards, but I decided to build it into the side of a mountain. The mountain wasn't big enough and I had to expand, and eventually I will terraform over it and probably bring the mountaintop quite a bit higher. But, you know, until that occurs, I'm kind of stuck with it. I'm just going to bring the bed with me. So we're going to run up there and I'm going to show you what the iron farm looks like and how it works. It's kind of a variant on the iron farm that Tango Tech built in the current season of Hermitcraft. So I'm going to go ahead and link in the description to the video that he did. He kind of explains all the mechanics quite a bit better than I understand them, but he is the king of iron farms, so that's to be expected. I will eventually reroute all of the items that are coming from this into some sort of storage system somewhere, but I always run past it. So here we have the internal mechanism of the iron farm. So up there we have, let me sleep real quick. We have 4 different pods of 3 villagers. In order for the villagers to spawn iron golems, they need to have worked in a workstation, so that's why there's a cartography table there. We've got 3 cartography tables. And they also need to be able to sleep in beds, so that's why there are beds. You know what, I'm going to cheat a little bit and switch into spectator mode so that way we can see exactly what's going on. So we have 3 villagers up here in each of the corners. Okay, for a second I thought one died again. So we got 3 villagers in each of the corners, and then we have 2 zombies here. I tried doing it with just 1 zombie in the middle, but the villagers and zombies have a certain range in which they interact with each other, and so they do need to be close enough to have that interaction. And if I had just one in the middle, in order to make the villagers react, they would need to be closer. But if they're too close to each other, if these pods are too close to each other, then they start to interact with each other. So anyways, I have a hopper clock down here, which is a pretty standard little redstone circuit. You have 2 hoppers that feed into each other with 2 comparators. Those comparators lead into a block with a piece of dust on it that is then connected up to a sticky piston with a redstone block in between. There is a redstone dust back here, it's just hidden. The way that this works is there are items here in this hopper. The more items there are, the longer the timer is going to be set for. I really just put a random number of items in there. The redstone block on top actually locks the hopper from being able to drain items. So this one's just going to fill up with items that are draining from here. Once this hopper on the left is fully empty, this comparator will depower, this redstone dust will unpower, and the redstone block will get shifted back. I'm using that to feed into a redstone torch, which then feeds into this torch tower and powers a piston. This piston makes my 2 zombies, Terror and Panic, rise up and down so that they're visible to the villagers and then hidden from the villagers. When they pop up, the villagers will start to panic and freak out, and in their desperation, they will try to spawn a golem. Maybe we'll see one here. I don't have the timings exactly right, so it might take a little while for us to be able to see it. But they try to spawn, there we go, a golem. The golem's only place that it can spawn is actually on top. Golems are one of the unique mobs that can actually spawn in water. So it spawns in this water stream, gets pushed off to the side, down here and into a lava blade. The drops, which we're going to be able to watch in a minute, will then get filtered down on this water stream into this chest down here. Now I've had this iron farm running for a little bit. I honestly haven't really AFK'd. It's mostly just been running while I've been working on it and modifying it. And I already have a decent amount of iron. You know, I've got, what is that? 2 stacks worth of iron blocks, 2.5 stacks worth of iron blocks if I were to convert it all. You also get poppies out, so I am going to need to do some sort of item sorter that will filter the poppies out. I'll probably go ahead and use them to convert into bone meal, and then pack the iron away into a larger storage system. So that's the general mechanics behind these iron farms. You don't have to do it with 4 pods. You could just have one little group of villagers and 1 zombie. You don't even have to have the zombie popping up and down, if I remember correctly, although it is useful to kind of reset the villagers' panic meter. The reason that this was dumb was because the villagers have a range around which they can spawn a golem. It's, if I remember correctly, about 5 blocks. So they can spawn a golem 5 blocks above them, 5 blocks below them, 5 blocks to the left, 5 blocks to the right. And unfortunately, the surface here, the villagers are only like right around that level. So they were spawning golems out in the area around this this farm. So they were spawning golems out here, and when you start to get golems building up, then the villagers will, oh, apparently it's a cat farm as well. When you have golems that are just kind of hanging around, the villagers can recognize that there's a golem there, and then they don't panic and spawn a new golem. So, you know, I've been trying to make sure that there are no golems present. I've got glass here and below, because glass is a block that mobs cannot spawn on. So I was also having mobs spawn, or not mobs, golems spawning inside this area. So I went ahead and just put a glass floor on it. But that is pretty much it for iron farms. The reason that you would really want an iron farm is to make a big storage system. You need a lot of hoppers, and so you'd want a lot of iron. Really getting into a lot of redstone, you need lots of pistons, so you'll need iron for that. Eventually, getting a beacon, an iron beacon base is usually the easiest one to make if you've got an iron farm. And what I will probably be using a lot of this iron for is actually trading with villagers. There are the toolsmith, weaponsmith, and armorer villager all trade for iron. They'll give you lots and lots of emeralds for a relatively small amount of iron. I want to say it's only like 4 iron for an emerald usually. And you can probably get that quite a bit lower if you have the zombie villager conversion machine that I do. So that's it for the iron farm. Like I said, I'm going to be terraforming this mountain probably between episodes, just because terraforming is obnoxious. I just didn't want to terraform it right away because I wanted to make sure that I took care of all of the golem spawning issues that I was running into. The next farm that we're going to look at is actually going to be a farm I've never built before. It's going to be a, oh wow, my brain stopped working, a gold farm. So the gold farm in Minecraft, I can't speak today. In this Minecraft version is relatively straightforward. It's going to utilize the fact that pretty much the only mob that can spawn on magma blocks is going to be the zombie pigmen, or zombie piglin, I guess is the current name for it. And so we can use that to create a really quick and simple gold farm. The one trick that we will have to figure out is how to get on top of the roof of the nether. So I'm going to collect a few resources, do a little bit of research, And I'm gonna go ahead and do a cut here, and I'll get back to you guys once I figure out how to get onto the roof of the Nether and I get a design down for this gold farm. And we are back. So what I have done is I've dug all the way up right to the roof of the Nether, and I've started looking around for a spot in the Nether roof here that I can punch through. So if I turn on F3, you can see that this spot that I'm looking at, if you look in the far top right, targeted fluid, this spot has Y level 127. That means this is the only piece of bedrock between me and the Nether ceiling. If you place ladders up against it, you should be able to use an ender pearl to glitch through. Now, I'm not sure if this will work. I haven't tested it. I only have one ender pearl, but it worked. So what would have been smart for me to do is for me to type the coordinates into chat. There goes 31. That's just so I don't lose track of this block, because I really only want to break one piece of bedrock. So what I'm going to do is set up a little circuit here. I'm going to try to do this from memory, and then I'm going to do and a lever. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have two pieces of TNT back here. I'm just going to put some netherrack there right now because I don't want to use it just yet. Then I'm going to activate this lever. Oh my goodness, I can't. So activate the lever. That will ignite the TNT. It will also extend this piston. Then I'm going to go into crouch mode right down here and aim directly at this block and try to place another piston. The TNT will blow up this piston. I will place the piston I have here, but the redstone signal will still be active for an instant. It will extend the piston head, and it should hopefully punch right through the ceiling. Now, I'm not sure how much luck I'm going to have with this. I only have 11 pieces of TNT. I did bring some obsidian up top just so I can make a oops. Pardon that language. I did bring some obsidian so that I can get out of here if need be. I'm a little nervous. So like I said, I've never done this before, but let's see. Oh my goodness. And I don't think that worked. Nope. So one of the ways you can tell that it did work is the piston should look like this. The piston that I placed was facing down. So what I'm going to do is try a couple more times and see if I have any more luck. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to go ahead and try a few more times off camera, and I'll get back to you when I've punched through successfully. And I think I may have done it. Let's see. There we go. So that's exactly what you want it to look like after you have broken through that piece of bedrock. So now I can just clean this up a little bit. You'll notice there's a nether portal hanging out right there. I did run out of TNT, so I had to run back to my base, which then meant I had to try to push back up through the nether roof again. But that should do it as far as busting through the nether ceiling. So now we can actually go ahead and make some farms up here. A pretty simple farm to make would be a hoglin farm. Oh, that's why I can't place blocks. I did find a little tip for placing that piston, changing your key binding so that way to an actual key on your keyboard, because the way that Minecraft interprets you holding down a key is actually going to be interacting faster than spam clicking right click. So there we go. This portal isn't really linked up well. It kind of gets confused between my regular portal because that's right below this. So I can look here and I can look at what biome I'm in. And for the different kinds of farms you're going to want, for a gold farm, you want the nether waste. For a hogland farm, you're going to want a crimson forest. So I'm kind of really fortunate that I have a nether waste area really close to this portal. So this whole area over here is nether waste. I also have some crimson forest nearby, so if I do want to make a hogland farm, I could. So I'm going to go ahead and do another cut here while I go and gather resources and find a new gold farm idea to test out here. So I'll be right back. And we are back. So I've gone ahead and in between clips built as much of the gold farm as I'm actually going to build. You can make this gold farm a lot bigger than the one I have. You can also see there's some crazy stuff going on with the glass that I'm going to explain in a little bit. This is not perfect. It's not up to 100% efficiency, but it's going to be good enough for what I need it to be. So yeah, I just figure that I'll get a basic supply of gold. That way, any kind of rails that I want to build up in the future, I'm good to go. I haven't really done much AFKing yet, but you see I've already got, 4 gold ingots, over a stack of gold nuggets, and I've got some gold swords that I could disenchant or smelt up for more gold nuggets. But the way that this farm works is we have a spawning platform out there of magma. The only 3 mobs that can spawn on the magma block are the zombified piglins, the magma cubes, and ghasts. Now, with these half slabs on top, ghasts cannot spawn, so it's just the zombified piglins and the magma cubes. Magma cube spawning is relatively small, so I'm not stressing about it. What we would do is anger the piglins, and they aggro to the player. They run over here. They try to approach me. They fall into that hole where there are a whole bunch of minecarts, and they will entity cram. When they're done dying, their drops will fall down into the hopper minecart below, and then into a hopper into this chest. Now, I'm going to set up an item sorter, but at least for right now, this is going to be good enough. It is a nice experience farm, so it's a great way for me to repair my tools. Now, it's not perfect because the piglins, if they don't see the player, they're going to lose aggro. So that's what this platform over here is going to be for. This is going to be where I put a name-tagged piglin that I'm going to call Grumpy Boy. He can always see me. I actually might want to knock out a couple of these pieces of glass just so I make sure that he can always see me. And then he'll hold the aggro, and that will allow the other piglins to retain their aggressive behavior and keep trying to get me. If you build this, you do want to make sure that you have a half slab here, so that way all of these minecarts, there are 24 or 25 minecarts in that space. You don't want them to be popping out, so you want to use a half slab, so that way you can keep the minecart inside, but the experience can fall out. Now, I built this all the way up at the world height limit, so that I don't have to worry about any spawns down below. Now, it's not ideal because there are quite a few times where piglins will just fall off the side, so I might set up some sort of collection system down at the bottom. And it's also, a little obnoxious how high up in the world it is. Getting up to the top is a little annoying, but getting down to the bottom is pretty simple if you've got a boat. I also put a portal up here just so that I can get back home a little bit quicker. Unfortunately, the portal synchronization is a little bit screwy, So this portal just connects up to the regular portal down below. I could work on that, but I'm not going to stress over it. So the last thing I have to do today is set up the item sorter over here at the item farm, or iron farm, not item farm. There is a golem up top, so I need to do a little bit more work on spawn proofing it, but for the most part, for the amount of work that I put into this iron farm, I feel pretty good about how efficient it is. You know, it's not the most efficient, but I've never been too stressed over having the most efficient farm in the world. So what we're going to do is I want the iron to come out. Let's just go ahead and put some chests right here. So I'm going to drop a crafting bench. Some wood, some chests. There we go. Now I don't have enough hoppers, so fortunately I have an iron farm. Why did I just do that anymore? Okay, that should be good enough. You know what, I'm just gonna make a whole mess load of hoppers. That should be good enough. Okay, so the item sorter that I'm going to do, I believe, was developed by Impulse SV, although I'm not 100% certain. It's kind of been around for, honestly, years, so you know, I don't feel too bad about not knowing the original designer. So I'm going to start my hopper chain here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort the poppies out. So in order to do this, I'm going to set up a little space out here. Oh, I put all of my redstone away. Why did I do that? That was dumb of me. So what this item sorter kind of operates on is using a comparator. It's going to keep an eye on the level of items that are in a hopper, and when that number of items grows because a poppy is able to fall into it, it unlocks the hopper and then items will fall through. So I need redstone comparators, redstone dust, redstone torches, and I think I might, it's honestly been a while since I've built this, so I might need a redstone repeater. I'm only doing one module, so I don't really need that much. So I think I would just need one repeater, if that. But I'm going to bring the materials with me. Okay. So, yeah, once I build this item sorter, that should probably be it for this episode. I'm still kind of debating on what to do in the future. I've been keeping an eye out on all the Caves and Cliffs updates that are coming out, all the snapshots. And I've been kind of wanting to do a series using those snapshots as kind of a base. I know that there are a few Minecrafters out, Minecraft YouTube players, YouTubers who play Minecraft. There we go. Those are words that make sense. Who have been doing like hardcore or ultra hardcore mode in the snapshots, and honestly that kind of sounds interesting. Not that I'm very good at hardcore, I'm actually pretty god awful at anything even resembling that, but you know, I think it would be a good way to just kind of play around with the new mechanics without having a lot of the stress. Okay. So there's that. And I'll put it right there. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So what I need to do is have a comparator output from this. I'm building this for memory, so if I screw it up, that's going to be pretty embarrassing, which obviously means I'm going to screw it up, but we will just have to wait and see. There's my repeater. Torch right there. Okay, so what this torch is doing is it's holding this hopper locked because it's powering this block. Therefore, this hopper is not allowing anything to move through it. Now, once the amount of items inside this hopper reaches a certain point, this redstone signal will bleed down to here. That will cause this redstone repeater to power. That will cause this redstone torch to depower, and items will start to flow down. Now, I believe I want those both to be oriented to the side. I think it's because hoppers that are pointing to the side flow a little bit slower than ones that are pointed straight down. Now, if I'm careful about this, nope, I don't think I can do that. There we go. So now the items should be flowing through, and we can see there's iron flowing through, but eventually there will be poppies that flow through. So let me just start by putting some poppies in. We should, there we go, we see that torch depower, therefore the poppies are able to fall through. Now normally you would want to rename the items, the filtering items here, because if I were to add extra cobblestone, it would actually kind of break the filter a little bit. So usually you would have just a random item that you have a lot of that you rename to something, therefore if you were to drop that item into the filter, it wouldn't get screwed up. But there's only 2 items that get generated from this farm, and cobblestone is not one of them, so I'm not going to stress over it. So now I just have to wait for a while, and all of these items will filter out. You can see that there's a backup here because hoppers take items out at a specific rate, and those items should all end up down here. So I should just have iron here. Now the only issue that I might get is if this backs up entirely, but even then that should not break the filter. And yeah, that's about it. Now with poppies, they are something that can get put into a composter, so I'll probably put a composter down here that has a filter, not a filter, hopper line that takes the bone meal that's generated and feeds it into some sort of other contraption somewhere. Who knows? I honestly don't even know what I would need a lot of bone meal for right now. I'm not planning on growing a lot of crops, so I'm not too stressed about that. So let me switch into spectator, just so we can look at the iron farm. So unfortunately, you know, we're probably not going to see many golems get generated right now because there's this guy hanging out here, and he's kind of throwing off the spawn rates. Let me just do a quick look around to see if there's any others. There's a creeper and a sheep. Yeah, so it looks like I might just need to build this box out by about 1 or 2 more blocks just to make sure that everything's good. Or he might have actually spawned on that spot right there. Oops. Now as far as trying to get rid of the golems that spawn, you could be super you could be a lot more adventurous than me and try to attack them. Oh, thank you, Mr. Golem. Or you should be able to just burn them. They're not going to recognize the fire as you being aggressive and you attacking them. So it's a great way to kill a mob off without aggroing it. Specifically, this would be for golems and villagers. You really don't worry about aggroing something like a cow, but golems do have quite a bit of health, so let me just let him burn to death. Oh, and is this? Okay, my friendly creatures was down way, way, way lower than I thought it was. That would explain why he wasn't making any noise. There we go. Killed him. Got a little impatient. So hopefully just placing that one block will actually make this one work. Anyway, so I think that's going to do it for this episode. Not really sure when I'm going to get the next episode out. It's kind of been crazy with work and the weather and all kinds of COVID craziness. So I've also been really into playing my modded series, so I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you check out that. But anyways, it's been good playing with you. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments area below. Leave a